back here on Women Talking Football, and it is time to jump into our regional breakdowns. This time, we're heading up a little bit northeast of where we're sitting, and that is going out to the Texoma region, where we bring in KTEN Sports Director and anchor Davis Baker. Davis, how are you, man?
Good. How about you, Ashley? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, we're pumped to have you. We've had a couple of people on from KTEN in the past, and we were excited to see your name pop up there. Before we really get going here, we'll dive into the football in a minute. But first, anybody that comes on the show, we like to give you a chance to tell the viewers and readers a little bit more about you and where you came from. So give us an elevator pitch. Who are you, and how'd you end up out there in Texoma?
Gotcha. Well, I'm actually from Atlanta, Georgia. I went to the University of Georgia. So, there I got to cover a lot of good football, obviously covered the 2021 national championship team. And from there, they reached out to me, and obviously in an area where high school football means this much, and we have, the passionate fan base that we do. It was a no-brainer. And so, this is my second football season here. I've almost been here 2 years now, and I'm loving it every single day.
That's awesome. And you hit the nail on the head there, because when we talk about Texoma, and it's one of my favorite regions to talk about because geographically speaking, definitely not near the largest region that we have here in the state of Texas. But if you want to start looking at it in a per capita of smaller region with some really stinking good football teams, does it still, you've been there for almost 2 years now, does it still shock you how it can be a smaller region, but y'all have such incredible talent out there?
Oh, absolutely. And it starts with the longest running rivalry in the state, which is Sherman Denison. I mean, that week, it just feels like both towns, there's, it's just everyone's waiting for Friday night at 7 o'clock. And then going down, like you said, in the 3A level and the 2A levels, there are so many good players and talented coaches as well. And I just think it starts, with the culture that we have here, and everyone wants to be better. And I think it's kind of like an iron sharpens iron thing where, every team being good makes every other team better. So it's a lot of fun to cover.
It is definitely the domino effect there, and I think it is easy, at least right now, to point where that lead domino is, and that would be the Gunner Tigers. We obviously have seen so much success out of them in these handful of years, going to the state championships, almost 4 different times now in the past 5 years, winning a couple of them. Well, I guess 4 if you're counting where we think that they'll end up this year. But take me back specifically to that Brock game, because let's be honest, Gunner played a lot of teams that were just not in their weight class to start off the year. How impressive was that win over Brock to you guys?
For sure. Well, last year when they went to Brock, they won 21-16. And, that game went down to the wire. And we kind of figured that would be the same case this year. I thought we were going to have a really close game. Our first couple game of the weeks were blowouts. So, our new guy, Adam Ogburn, he was hoping for, a close game. But Gunner went in there and they just set the tone early. I mean, I think they were up. I know they were up 21-0, and I think they were up 28-6 at half. And they don't really take their foot off the gas pedal. And that's what's so impressive about Gunner, the speed they play with, the cohesiveness they have. Obviously, it starts with Coach Jake Fizell and his staff. He's been there for a long time now. So that was definitely a statement win for them, because a lot of people, I feel like, coming into this year thought, Gunner did have a very impressive senior class last year. Guys like Ethan Sloan, Ivy Hellman, Ashton Bennett all graduated. But this senior class, it's not as big as last year's, but they, I think, wanted to make a statement, and they certainly did that with the way they played Brock.
And I don't think you can really say that Gunner has exceeded expectations this year. I think that they're on pace to do very well, just like they've done the past couple years. What are some of those teams in the Texoma region that you think have done much better than expected, or just already exceeded expectations for this season already?
Gotcha. Well, I'll start with the Tioga Bulldogs, a team in 2A D1. They had a coaching change this summer. Chad Rogers, who was previously at Denison, went to Tioga for 2 years. Then he moved on to Sanger. And, a lot of times when you have a coaching change, it's because the team was down. That wasn't the case. They won the district for, I think, the first time ever last year. They've only been playing 11-man for a couple seasons. So they bring in Zach Birdwell from Lubbock Coronado, and he was a guy that you guys put on your 40 under 40. And this guy's just a brilliant offensive mind. I mean, I remember the first time I talked to him, we talked for probably 30 minutes, just, off camera, just about football and how he wanted to spread things out. Their first game was playing Collinsville, who's a top 5 team right now in 2AD2. So that was tough. They lost that game. And then their only other loss was by 1 to Howe, a 3A school, in overtime. So other than that, but I think what we're going to see from Tioga this year is how they played in that Valley View game. They beat them 66-20. And so I think that offense, even though they did win the district last year, I think that they are a team that can play deep into November this season.
Following Coach Birdwell on Twitter is one of my favorite Twitter follows because he is just consistently tweeting out film breakdowns, and I'm a nerd, and I just love it. So we're a big fan of Coach Birdwell out there. I do want to ask, obviously, I think everybody across the state, you would be mistaken not saying, hey, our expectation is for Gunner to be playing on December whatever down in AT&T Stadium. Do you think that there's any other team in the Texoma region that legitimately could make their way all the way down to Jerry World come December?
I do. I do want to say quickly, I think Bells is still a really good team this year. They didn't go anywhere. They just have to get over that Thanksgiving hump. They played on that Thanksgiving week the last couple years. And unfortunately, holidays cut their season short, I believe the last 2 now. But Collinsville is a team that I actually believe has a chance. And, if I was a betting man, then I might put money on them to make it. They just returned so much. They were already good last year. They made it to the regional finals. They have 9 starters back on defense, 6 on offense, and that starts with their quarterback, Logan Jenkins, who's currently leading the state in passing yards, almost 2,000. And so I would say that Collinsville is a team to look out for in 2AD2.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Logan Jenkins here. We're actually going to talk more about him a little bit later. But as for right now, aside from Logan Jenkins, I know that Gunner is just always stacked with players to watch. What are some players that you have seen so far this year that have really, really impressed you?
For sure. It starts at the quarterback position. They've got Walker Overman coming back, and he was a guy that, battled for that job at the start of last season and then just kind of took command. And, he's just kind of the perfect quarterback for that offense. He's probably 5'6" on a good day, but his speed is there. His decision-making is there because playing quarterback in that offense is difficult. You got to make multiple reads on almost every play. But, Gunner wants to play fast, and that starts with their quarterback. And I think he's just done a tremendous job. Obviously, Cannon Lemberg, a guy going to SFA on the outside. Now, Gunner, they've opened it up a little more. They don't throw it all the time. They are still, I'd say, a run-first offense. But obviously, it's great to have that threat out there. And then Jace Martin's a guy that just going with the theme of speed, really impresses. And then in their back end, having Colin Peacock, a guy that's getting some Power 5 offers as a junior. Just seeing him grow. He played really well in the state championship game last year. I believe he was the defensive MVP. So, he's holding it down in that back end. And when you have a guy like that at a 3AD2 school, it can really be, impressive.
Oh, definitely.
All right, Davis, before we let you go here, this is the hardest hitting, most important piece of journalism that we always ask each of our guests. And so when we inevitably come out and visit y'all out in the Texoma region, where should we eat before the game?
That's a good question.
I didn't prep him for this, so this is off the cuff here.
I'll go with Old Iron Post in Sherman.
Okay.
That's a place that's always been good to me. Buffalo Chicken Wraps never done me wrong. It's an older place. It kind of gives you, I don't know, but it just gives you sports bar. They've got, Sherman jerseys hanging from the wall, Austin College jerseys hanging from the wall. So great atmosphere. Makes you feel like you're about to go to a game. So I'll say Old Iron Post.
All right. I love that when you said Buffalo Chicken Wrap, Mallory was like, I think I've been there. This woman is obsessed with Buffalo Chicken Wrap. So you nailed the answer. Well, there he goes. He is Davis Baker. You can follow him at Davis Baker TV, the KTEN sports director and anchor out there in the Texoma region. Davis, thank you so much for hopping on with us, and best of luck this season. Hopefully we'll see you at AT&T Stadium come December.
Yeah, thank y'all. That was a lot of fun. I hope so too.